So, while previewing Legends of the Force, the brand new expansion coming out for Star Wars Unlimited in just a couple short weeks, we've talked about the leaders and the legendaries that are going to be coming in the set. It's now time to go through the rares, and we're going to be kicking things off with the Vigilance aspect and seeing what rare cards that it is going to be receiving. My name is Ben Fitzpatrick, I'm a TCG caster, and that means I just love talking about them. So let's do that right now. But before we go through any of the cards that are coming in Vigilance and in Rare, before we do, if you like this video, be sure to drop a like rating on it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on those notifications so you do not miss an upload. Also, in the description, go ahead and check out my socials over on X and drop me a follow. So, like I said, we've already talked about the leaders and the legendaries so far that are going to be coming in Legends of the Force, coming out in just a couple of weeks' time. Link to the iCard in the corner of the description to see the playlist for Star Wars Unlimited. Now it's time to go through all of the rares, and I figured that it might be a little bit easier if we break them down into aspect chunks. So we're going to start off with Vigilance here in this video. And the first thing that we have to start off with to talk about is not actually a card or a unit at all. It's a base. We are getting a full rare cycle of bases for each aspect in set 5. And we're going to start this off with the Vigilance Temple. It's a 25 HP base, which all of the rare bases are going to be in the new set. And it says, when the regroup phase starts, if you control a unit with 4 or more remaining HP, the Force is with you. So you create the Force token. These bases are going to be very, very similar in that kind of regard. They all generate the Force token for you in some way, shape, or form. And Vigilance here is relying on you to have healthier units, essentially, on the board. So very, very interesting here. I'll be interested to see what deck this particularly tries to kind of combine with. Can maybe see this with maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi, the original Obi-Wan from Twilight of the Republic, and make it a mono Vigilance aspect leader. We've seen that already with Pal City in the past, so Vigilance Temple might be an opportunity to explore that a little bit more. The difference there, though, is that Pal City gives you 1 extra starting HP on your base. It's a 26 HP base as opposed to 25. So we'll be looking here for a lot of ways to interact with our own units, a lot of healing potential here. So we'll have to see if this makes an impact. At first glance, it doesn't necessarily kind of stand out to me straight away, but if you can drop some of those larger HP units on board, you can start to get that Force token consistently generated. Now let's talk about some actual cards themselves, and we're going to start off in Villainy paired with Vigilance with Pong Krell here, a 7-cost Vigilance Villainy unit, a 2/9 with Grit. So Kira players, keep an eye out for this potentially. When this unit completes an attack, you may defeat a unit with less remaining HP than this unit's power. So it is literally, as I just said there about Kira players, this will be a great way to help get a little bit more board clear, a little bit more control if you are playing Kira. You can damage this with the Kira ability, give it a shield, put this to a 4 power unit here with those 2 grit stacks on board, and start to clear the way of some enemy units. And of course, if you go ahead and trade into a unit, that big 9 HP is going to give you a lot of longevity to then go ahead and clear some other units out of the way. So Pong Krell, definitely an interesting one. At 7 cost, might be a little bit on the expensive side, but this is definitely an opportunity for Kira players, maybe even OG Grand Inquisitor, to get some opportunities here. It's at that 2 base HP here, so you can restand it or activate it with the Grand Inquisitor leader ability from Spark of Rebellion. But at 7 cost, it's probably a little bit too expensive for that. GI was more of a kind of mid-range to aggro deck as opposed to mid-range to control. This might be on the more expensive side for that, but Kira players, certainly I think this card could potentially find a home in that deck. Next up, we've got an upgrade, which we previewed and got a little tease of a couple of videos ago in the lightsaber video, when we were talking about different lightsabers and upgrades, as well as the video when we were talking about the Galactic Championship prizes. This is Kylo Ren's lightsaber. It's a 2-cost Vigilance Villainy upgrade that grants +1 HP, or +1 attack and +3 HP, attached to a non-vehicle unit, as you'd expect. If attached unit is a Force unit, it gains this unit can't be exhausted by enemy card abilities, which is interesting considering the different exhaustion mechanics and exhaustion cards that we have right now in the format. No Good to Be Dead is a fantastic one. Frozen in Carbonite. Perilous Position as well. This could get around the Perilous Position's ability to exhaust the enemy the unit that the Perilous Position is attached to as soon as that upgrade is played onto a unit. So this could get around stuff like that. It's definitely a very interesting one, and definitely one I'm looking for more so as part of the kind of lightsaber combo decks that might be able to be built and might be able to be generated out of Legends of the Force with the amount of lightsabers that we are going to be getting. But those are really the only two kind of things that I can see potentially being useful for. Obviously, it being Kylo Ren's lightsaber does have some utilization with the new Kylo Ren leader that we're going to be getting in Legends of the Force, allowing you to go ahead and draw one, discard one. If it's an upgrade that you discard, you get to the draw a card. So couple of different interactions here, but not a card that I think will be immediately included in a lot of decks going forward. Next up, we've got an event card, and that is going to be the Tragedy of Plagueis. This is one I'm really interested in. It's a 5-cost Vigilance Villainy event. Choose a friendly unit. For this phase, it can't be defeated by having no remaining HP, but then it's also got Power of the Dark Side bolted on to it. An opponent chooses a unit they control, defeat that unit. So very, very interesting. Doesn't get around some removal events, obviously. Things like takedowns, Fell the Dragons, Rivals Fall. Doesn't get around that, unfortunately. But it does mean that for this phase, you could crash in a unit if it's got some really high attack value, potentially. It's boosted up by some experience tokens, by some upgrades, potentially. You can crash that in and not have it defeated for this phase if the HP is removed down to 0 in that exchange. You can still keep it around, get any kind of when attacking abilities, and importantly, when attacking abilities that when this unit survives, which is a distinction that has been made quite a lot in this set from different cards that we've seen so far. And then Power of the Dark Side or Merciless Contest, whichever one you want to look at, getting bolted onto this card as well is very, very interesting. So I'd expect to see this card maybe not in 3-ofs necessarily, because there are so many great Vigilance Villainy events that are already in the game. Things like Power of the Dark Side we mentioned. No Glory Only Results has been a massive, massive auto-include for a lot of decks already after being brought out in Jump to Lightspeed. The Tragedy of Plagueis, though, I do definitely think has a place here in Vigilance and Villainy. Going up next, we're going to go into Heroism, paired with Vigilance as well. This is Yaddle, a 2-cost 2/4 with Restore 1, which on attack, each other friendly Jedi unit gains Restore 1 for this phase. I really like the look of this card. If anything, just as a thing to do on that first phase onto resources, a 2/4 with Restore 1 is really, really nice. But on attack, being able to give your other friendly Jedi units Restore 1 could be very, very important. We've seen with Kit Fisto, I believe, that kind of Jedi Matters style deck or engine that it looks like that it wants to be made for itself. But even if you're not pairing this with Kit Fisto and using this in just sort of a generic Vigilance, Heroism, good stuff deck, your Luke Skywalkers, if they stick around with Yaddle, now all of a sudden becomes Restore 4, which could be very, very scary. You could give Jedi leader units Restore 1 as well. So this could be very, very scary given the right combination. I really like the idea of Yaddle here, and I think that we'll be seeing quite a few Vigilance Heroism decks including this as a Phase 1 play. Next up, we've got our first space unit that we're going to be talking about here. It's the T6 Shuttle 1974, 3 cost 3/4 in space, Heroism and Vigilance. When this unit is attacked, you may give an experience token to this unit. So essentially what we're looking for here is a way to give this card Sentinel, potentially here. Not too many ways that we can do that in the format right now, or in the card pool right now, but that's kind of what we're wanting to go for here. Give this thing Sentinel, let it sit into space, and if your opponent does go ahead and attack into it, it's only going to get stronger. But I feel like that it's a little bit too limited, it's a little bit too narrow for what this card is trying to do. You need quite a few things to go right here, because even if you do give this card Sentinel, for example, whether it's for the phase or for the entirety of the point that it is in the space arena, your opponent could just do one of two things. Either ignore it entirely and say, okay, the space arena is kind of gone for now until I can get a Sentinel of my own to jump in the way of this 3 damage, or it can just go to removal, right? It's 3 power, so it's not going to stick around for too long. You can immediately power the dark side this as well if your opponent has the initiative, and this is the first thing that they play. You can go power the dark side, it's gone. Merciless Contest, it's gone. Takedowns and things like that as well. It dies very, very easily to removal here. So not one that I'm super excited about on first glance at the very least, but if we have some better ways to try and force some interactions, Strike True could potentially be an opportunity here as well, because that's a fight event that makes your opponent attack into your unit that you choose. So Strike True could be a potential combo play with this T6 Shuttle 1974, and importantly, the experience token is granted before damage is dealt. So there may be a couple of ways to play around with this, but right now I don't see T6 Shuttle being included in too many decks going forward. Next up, we've got the first upgrade for Vigilance and Heroism. That's going to be the Jedi Holocron, a 1-cost upgrade that grants +1/+1 to each stats attached to a Force unit. So it has to be a Force unit that we attach this onto. An attached unit gains on attack. You may heal 3 damage from another unit. So very interesting here. Works well with the Vergence Temple base that we've just seen, but there's a 1 card here that screams this out to me that we could potentially use this with to get some really nice early tempo, and that's Guardian of the Wills. Guardian of the Wills was a card that was released in Spark of Rebellion, is a 2-cost, and has the ability text that any upgrade that you play onto that unit costs 1 less, and Guardian of the Wills is a Force unit as well. So if we go Phase 1 Guardian of the Wills, first action of Phase 2, use its effect to reduce the cost of this upgrade, making it free, we can attach the Holocron onto the Guardian of the Wills and start moving on from there. I like that potential interaction and idea, and healing 3 damage from another unit is always really good. Restore as a keyword is really great for your base, but being able to heal up your other units isn't something that we get too much of at the most at current format in the current card pool. I think Covert Strength, is one of them. There's the intervention card as well that you can play to heal and then grant an experience token. The name of it eludes me for the time being, but those who have played the game will know what card that I'm talking about. But there's very few interactions to heal from other units in the game at the moment. So Jedi Holocron, I think, could be a very, very interesting upgrade. So too, potentially, could be Jedi Trials. This is another one-cost Vigilance Heroism upgrade. Does not give any boosts initially when it is attached. However, you can attach it to a Force unit. So again, similar combo that we could work with Guardian of the Wills. Attached unit gains on attack, give an experience token to this unit. And then while the attached unit has 4 or more upgrades on it, it gains the Jedi traits. So we'll work in synergy with Yaddle here once we've got those 4 upgrades. And remember, experience tokens count as upgrades. So if, for example, we're going along that Guardian of the Wills theory crafting that we were doing earlier with the Holocron, you can phase 1, play Guardian of the Wills down for 2 resources, then phase 2, use Guardian effect to attach Jedi Trials on for free, and then that unit is ready and can attack on that phase. So it can go ahead, swing in, on attack will gain an experience token, swing in for 3 damage, I think it will be, the 2 initially from the Guardian of the Wills, and then the 1 from the experience token, and you're already halfway there to getting that Jedi trait as well. So could be a really, really interesting different kind of usage of this upgrade here. Of course, you could also attach this onto other units that aren't Jedi and try and grant them that Jedi trait to work either with Yaddle as a unit, with Kit Fisto as a leader as well. Very, very interesting card that we've got here. Could also see the potential to be allow the Forces with Me to be brought back as well. Another card from Spark of Rebellion that granted experience tokens onto a unit in Heroism and Vigilance. So a couple of different build-arounds that we could potentially work with here with Jedi Trials. I think that these 2 upgrades are a little bit stronger, at least on face value, than Kylo Ren's lightsaber. They give you just a little bit more versatility, it seems, at the moment. Next up, we're going to go into our double aspect rares. First up, we've got Doom, or Dume, here. 4 cost 2/7 for double vigilance. When the regroup phase starts, give an experience token to each other friendly non-vehicle unit. This looks a really, really cool card here. To get the most out of it, you probably are going to want to go ahead and play into that double vigilance aspect here. But even if you're not, playing this for 6 and boosting everything else up with an experience token that isn't a vehicle could be a quite interesting way to look to close out games. My idea here would maybe utilize this with some sort of token generators here potentially. Something like Captain Rex, something like Drop-In as well, Chancellor Palpatine, the Flip Palp that creates clone troopers for you. You can boost them up when the regroup phase starts, not having to pay a load of resources to be able to do that. So it could be a very, very interesting one. I do think, though, that double vigilance is where this is going to be at, boosting up all of your friendly non-vehicle units from 4 resources, as opposed to having to wait a couple of phases for your opponents to potentially get into the game, start enacting their game plan a little bit. But Doom is definitely one that I'll be interested to experiment with, and definitely in a token generator kind of fashion here. If you're spawning out tokens really, really quickly, and then they're all going to get experience tokens when the regroup phase starts, forcing your opponents to have a pretty immediate response and a wide response to those units that you're playing down. Next up is Size Matters Not, a 3-cost double vigilance upgrade here. And this one I'm very, very interested in. If you control a Force unit, this upgrade costs 1 less to play. Attached units' printed power is considered to be 5, and its printed HP is considered to be 5. So, a 3-cost upgrade that's potentially a 2-cost upgrade that could potentially be a 1-cost upgrade if, again, we're going along that Guardian of the Wills play. I definitely feel like that could be a card that gets to see a lot of play in Vigilance going forward with these new rares here. And then all of a sudden, you're working with a 5/5 on the second phase of the game, and that's the base printed power at that point. So you can even go ahead and make it stronger and make it bigger from there. So size matters not is a really interesting upgrade. Again, double Vigilance, and I'm not sure if I'd look to pay 5 for it or 4 for it with the cost reduction there if you control a Force unit. 4 maybe feels a little bit better. Paying 5 for it, yes, it's a 5/5 for 5 at that point, but you've already committed the resources to the unit, and there's so many other units in the game right now that do a little bit more at that 5/5 for 5 stat line. Blue Leader is one of the ones that comes to mind immediately, being able to switch from the Space Arena into the ground, get those 2 experience tokens to make it a 5/5 as opposed to the 3/3, and then it can go ahead and ambush in as well. So definitely a card that will need some experimentation, I think, but one that looks really, really interesting, and I like what we're kind of doing mechanically here with this upgrade as well. The final 2 cards are going to be our Mono Vigilance Aspect rares. We've got Axe Wolves here, a 3-cost 2/2 is shielded in Mono Vigilance, and this unit gets +1/+1 for each upgrade on him. Gar Saxon players, we found our Phase 2 play. This card is incredible in Gar Saxon because it's a 2/2 on printed stat lines, comes in shielded, so gets a static +1/+1 for that shield, making him a 3/3. Then with Gar Saxon ability, you get the +1 attack because he has an upgrade a part of him. So it's a 4/3 for 3 resources on that second phase of the game. And then if you go ahead and build a more kind of traditional Gar Saxon list with a load of actual upgrade cards as opposed to just relying on shields or experience tokens, this Axe Wolves can get even bigger. So if we go potentially, we go the Director Krennic on phase 1, getting in shielded, Axe Wolves on phase 2, comes in shielded, and then the Shuttle ST-149 on 4 resources, taking the shield away from Krennic and putting it on Axe Wolves, all of a sudden, we've then got a 5/4 on the board that's going to be able to swing in and deal massive chunks of damage. So Axe Wolves here, I'm a really big fan of in Gar Saxon in particular, and of course has the Mandalorian type as well. So if you're potentially running the Darksaber in your Gar Saxon list, remember you don't have to pay the aspect penalty if you're attaching it to Mandalorian. So you either can give Axe Wolves the Darksaber, or when Gar Saxon leader deploys, you can give him the Darksaber as well, something that I would do quite often when I used to play Gar Saxon in set 2 when he was released. You can then go ahead and start distributing experience tokens out to these Mandalorians, to Axe Wolves here, which in turn is only going to make him stronger because of his effect text. So I really, really like this card, and it's definitely one that I'm going to be trying in my Gar Saxon list going into Legends of the Force. Finally, we have Ogdo Bogdo here, the creature from Star Wars Jedi Order here, the 3-cost Mono Vigilance unit, 5/5, which is a huge stat line, although the drawback is that this unit can't attack unless it is damaged. But when this unit does have the ability to attack and defeats a unit, you can heal 2 from it. So you can go ahead with Ogdo Bogdo and set it up with something like Kira leader ability potentially, and then it's going to be able to attack, and it's a 5/5 at that point with a shield on it as well from the Kira effect. So could be a really, really interesting early aggression piece that we could use with Ogdo Bogdo if we want to make Kira more of a kind of a mid-range style deck as opposed to a leaning into that control ability here. But I'm really interested in this card. I saw 5/5 for 3 and went, hang on a second, that's crazy. And then I saw the ability and the necessary requirements you have to fill and went, oh, okay, that's how we're balancing it out. But still, if you're attacking into the right things, this Ogdo Bogdo could stick around for quite some time. And if you pair this with the new Kanan Jarrus leader that's coming out in set 5 as well, we can give a shield token to this creature and make it even stronger and make it even more likely that it's going to stick around. And then that gives the Kanan Jarrus +2/+2 when it goes ahead and deploys as well. So a couple of really interesting things that we could do here with this unit. I'm very, very interested and excited for it. So those are your rares for Vigilance that are coming out in Legends of the Force. Of the cards that I think are going to make an immediate impact, the Tragedy of Plagueis, I think for villainy in particular, is going to be one of them. Yaddle, I think, could maybe make its way into Vigilance Heroism decks. Jedi Holocron and Trials, I think, are going to be cards that players are going to maybe look to experiment with. I'm really interested to see how those pan out. Axe Woves, definitely, and Gar Saxon, I think that's going to be an auto-include at 3 of, at the 3 resource slot. And then maybe Ogdo Bogdo, just for the fun and games of it. But that is going to do it for this video. So now it is over to you. Let me know what cards in Vigilance that you are excited for in the rare slot. Are there any that you think are going to make an immediate impact that I haven't pointed out already? Or some cards that maybe I'm overestimating a little too much? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like rating on it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on those notifications so you do not miss an upload. We're going to be going through the rest of the aspects through all of their rares and picking out some of the premier commons and uncommons that you're going to want to watch out for sealed and premier play. And of course, going and playing in a pre-release when they are coming around in just a couple of weeks' time. So with all that said, that's going to do it for the end of this video. I hope that you have enjoyed. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon. Goodbye for now.